All right, guys, welcome to the Masters in Motion podcast. We have a special CrossFit Games edition. It's Friday night, August 4th. It's 9:12 p.m. my time in Madison. Rick, that's 10:12 for you. So we're burning the late night oil here on a CrossFit Games weekend, but we just wanted to get out a quick podcast to talk about some of the burning topics and thoughts that we've had over the past few days. We'll have so much to unpack, but for where we're at and what we've experienced the past couple of days, we've got some stuff to talk about, you think?
Absolutely. We've spent the better part of 2023 leading up to this week, so we thought it was only fitting to at least get a couple of topics out there, and then there'll be some post-games interviews that we have lined up with some guests. I mean, we're gonna not let the off season start just yet. So
absolutely not.
Hang with us. Hang with us as we keep going through this. And I'm glad you called it the games episode, because I thought we were going to talk about my training for the week.
What have you been up to?
Doing some training. Yeah, just some training. That's all. Hey, I had a second session tonight. I bet you didn't, right?
I did
not.
not
Train you today? All right.
Yeah, today
like
you outworked me today. My strain level is high, but in a different way.
Today was walking between events to watch.
Oh my gosh, so much walking, so much talking. I had an event at the Ice Barrel this afternoon, which was very, very cool. But I've been on my feet, I think, more today than the last 3 days, probably combined, because in between sessions,
it was smart to get off your feet.
Yeah, you're taking calm. Today was just like throw caution to the wind, watch some events, get out there. Visit with people, say hi to everybody, anybody who is listening. And if you haven't found me at the games, don't hesitate. Just come and butt into whatever conversation I'm having, because I love seeing everyone out here. So, but we have
will pass that on. I got some friends there. So
tell them.
Somebody said they saw you. A friend of mine said she saw you from a distance or something. I'm like, gotta go say hi and hang out a little bit. So.
Don't be shy. Well,
it's Friday night and individuals have cuts. I have been busy tonight, but I was able to catch the second to last heats. I'm still going to go back and watch the rest. I know what happens now because I couldn't wait. I have to look at the leaderboard, but more so who is up there. I was going from spots 30 to 40 or 30 to 39 and look, who got cut. So I think Jason Hopper's the biggest names, the biggest name.
Yep.
He's
I haven't looked.
Wrong side.
I watched the events, but I missed some of it. So Jason Hopper, interesting. Mm-hmm. And by tomorrow night, they'll have a second round of cuts.
They'll have a second round of cuts. They'll be down to 20 starting today, Sunday. And there are a lot of events still to be revealed.
Yes.
I think they start tomorrow morning with the 5K.
It says
cross-country 5K.
Yeah. And they're going to take the same route that we took as Masters athletes.
Excellent.
Which comes right through the camping area. So I will be out there sipping coffee, watching other people suffer, running the fastest 5K of their life. I PR'd my 5K by a mile. I mean, it's insane. But they'll do the same thing.
I was going to ask.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you had made a couple of mentions that was fast. Now, in true CrossFit spirit, was this 5K-ish?
Yeah.
Like some of their ddistance? Do you think, I mean, everybody almost had a watch on, I'm sure.
We did. I did.
Was it a good distance?
It was 4.5K.
Okay.
So all of our times are a little fast. Like I was a sub 19 or 19, sub 20, something like that, just under. I think it was a sub 19, 4.5K technically.
Oh my God. Still, the way you guys ran, my chest hurt just watching that. I was like,
it was brutal. And my age group had some runners. And so I knew who I needed to beat, and I was attentive to what was going on behind me, as well as if I could have gotten in front of the three guys in front of me or even chipped off one of those. Every person that I beat creates more cushion for me going into the next day. And we'll talk about
points.
That. We'll talk about all of the events in each one of those
strategy
as we unpack this over the weeks. But I think speaking of a 5K or watching the events, I know you got to watch the events today, and you'll go back and watch the events. I'll go back and watch the events after our podcast. But it's because we get to watch the events on YouTube. That's a really luxurious thing, apparently.
Exactly. Oh yeah. It's kind of nice to be able to pull up the app and pick out what I want. Day 2. Let's fast forward to the Heat 4 men event 4.
Actual coverage.
I wish I could do that for age groups. Yeah.
It was
That was disappointing.
so
You were
disappointing.
busy competing,
Yeah.
but as a viewer, I was really disappointed, and I'm not alone in saying that.
You're not alone in saying that. As a viewer, you're by far not alone. As a competitor, there was a murmur, just constant murmur among the athletes about this change, and multiple things. One, the change wasn't announced. They could have cleared this up a month ago, very simply saying, guys, we had a hard decision. We have to put money in another spot, so we will not have coverage for you. We're going to put a camera down there, but just tell your family and your friends and your CrossFit gyms and your community that we don't give two shits. No, I'm sorry. That's not what it is. That's not what, exactly. But that's actually how the message came out. What they should have said was, we've had to juggle some things, move some things around, plan accordingly. And if you have someone on site,
exactly,
live stream it. Here's our Wi-Fi connection, right?
Yep. Now, how does this compare if you rewind back to 2019, when, again, I was expecting to watch, you weren't in the age group yet, but I was expecting to watch 45 to 49, and I open it up in the morning, and there's nothing. I was like,
there's nothing.
I guess I'm scrambling for people that I knew that were there who were streaming. And the live stream was not nearly as good, just believe it or not, 4 years ago than it was this year.
Right.
I mean, the technology has just gotten better.
Yes, the technology has gotten better. And I mean, it was a bummer that year. I feel like we had just maybe a little more notice, but I think it was also a surprise to most people, like, oh, they're just not covering it. Like it just wasn't. This time it was announced that you could watch day one coverage, and they had an Instagram post about it. Sure. I'm on the press side of things, so I get the press pass or the press release on that. But I remember reading into that, and I think I screenshotted it and sent it to you saying, "Uh-oh."
Yes, you did. Yep.
Because this
still camera,
still
something
camera,
like that, right?
And we know what that means.
So we sure do now.
On the floor, athletes were upset. And I'll tell you that I was talking with a very prominent masters athlete in the 35-year-old age group. I won't say who it is, but we were on the bikes cooling down after a workout, and we were chatting about it. And he said, the most frustrating part is that when you look at the individual athletes, the elite athletes, right? There's training camps like the HWPO training camp or Comp Train or Proven, whatever the training camps, and all the individual athletes are primarily working out in their garages in a special space in a training camp. They don't have a community. They have fans, but they don't have a community. And you have age group athletes like teenagers, adaptive masters athletes. They're training in gyms. They're training. Every gym that sends an age group athlete has 200 members at home and coaches and gym owners,
friends and family,
all of that. Yep. And they get cut off at the knees by not featuring us. So that's point number one. And that he said that was sad. He's an affiliate owner.
Well, I was going to say, because maybe of that community that they're a part of, maybe 10 friends and family made the trek to Madison and were there and had tickets. But it's the knock-on effect of all the other gym members who see you train or train with you or just want to be supportive or know on the front of your jersey, that's my gym's name on the front of your jersey. I'm like, that's really cool. Yep, I'm sitting back in Iowa and I can't watch it.
That's exactly right.
It was disappointing. Yeah.
And another point that I ended up talking with John Woolley about, Make WODs Great Again. Publisher. He and I were talking about the fact that, I'm not sure what Noble was expecting, but Noble gives out a package that's worth $3,000 to $4,000 for every athlete. And there are 140 masters athletes. Let's add the age group, the teenagers in there. So that's 180 plus adaptive. We're talking 200 to 250 athletes, $3,000 each outfitted, that are not wearing those clothes on TV. No one is seeing $3,000 worth of apparel.
Good point.
That that could be. That's a huge dollar sign. $100,000 worth of apparel just given away without any return that a headline sponsor, I think, would expect. They get to see the more Noble is shown up on the TV. Or on YouTube, and even the evergreen content that people go back and watch over and over and over again, Noble is on there. They miss 3 days of streamed coverage on that, and that's a cost. But besides all of that, I think you and I, just before we hopped on, it was about the message that's sent. That's what's rough when CrossFit sends a message. And they did this in 2019. They said, hey, we're deprioritizing the games. That was kind of a Greg Glassman move. It was kind of a crazy time. It was very chaotic.
It was right after the media team got many cuts. I don't want to
many cuts.
Specifics. Right.
CrossFit was in chaos that year. What do you see as the message that's being received by the community or the masters community with something like this? What do you infer? What are your thoughts on that?
It's hard to process, and it's still fresh. It's hard not to become influenced by the still camera comments that were rolling along the side. Most are quite entertaining, and if you wanted a good laugh, you should go back and watch some of that. But because of the way it was done, it's just we're throwing all of our eggs into the basket of individuals and teams. And so for what that means going forward, it's a big question mark right now. Again, that's an initial reaction. It's fresh. It's only Friday. Your championship is just about 24 hours old. So let's see, CrossFit has a history of making pretty important and impactful announcements in the 2 or 3 months post game. So by November, believe it or not, we probably have more information. There'll probably be some debriefs, and maybe there'll be some more stuff that'll come out and say, this is why we did it, and this is what our plans are for 2024. Because remember, there's no Madison in 2024. That was also a sea change too. That kind of caught everybody off guard. So who knows where this is going? I guess enjoy your weekend there in Madison, because you won't be doing that again next year. You'll be enjoying a weekend somewhere else. Yeah.
Well, you're always so level-headed. That's one of the fun things. I was talking to my wife about jumping onto the podcast with you, and she's like, it's really good because I'm pretty hot internally about the change. I'm emotional. It's a bummer. It was incredibly disappointing. Yeah. It didn't take away from being on the battlefield with all of the other Masters athletes. Just, the camaraderie in the battle is so invigorating. Absolutely. It's an amazing experience. So we got to experience that. We got to experience the fans, which were just amazing this year. The last event, which was on YouTube and on ESPN,
ESPN Plus,
that was
ESPN Plus. Which
in the Coliseum, there was nothing else happening, so the Coliseum had a ton of people in there. So that feeling was invigorating, and it was truly special. But you are level-headed, and that's really the truth. That we'll know more as time passes, and they'll unfold the story and their plan. And all I want to know is what it is right now, because I have zero patience.
I was going to say, you need to go outside tomorrow and walk around North Park with your shirt on and just enjoy the moment, because information and news will come out. So, but I'll tell you what, as we're stomping and kicking this topic around here, let's give some props to at least the way maybe Boz and the team for the last 2 years has celebrated the way age groups and teenagers finish the competition. Because if you remember last year, it was Saturday and it was just before the sandbag event. So he had made that point of saying, I want everybody in their final event to have an experience, a games experience out there. And it truly was for that final event. And it looks like it was the same thing this year, because I think the individuals were done. Yes. They then started the age group final positions, final workout.
Yes.
And I think, short, sharp, nice little workout, nice little test.
Yeah.
But it was a way, and you could see that from the broadcast, the amount of involvement and the energy that was in the building. So that's 2 years in a row that they've done that they've given athletes a proper send-off.
They very much did. And that is very true, Rick. It was a special moment. I mean, it wasn't just that we were in the Coliseum. The lights were on, the spotlights were on, they were flashing. During the day events, it's not quite as flashy, but we had that. We had all of the flash, and the entire volunteer staff, as you finish that event and you're actually exiting the Coliseum, they're clapping and cheering for the athletes, because this is it for us. So they make that special. We actually followed up that last event, which was a hell of an event. I can't wait to debrief each one of these events with you in our future episodes, because they were all very, very interesting. But then we reset. We actually we know what our placements were. We do drug testing. And then we went out to do the award ceremony, which for the first time in Madison was in the Coliseum with a very large crowd. Oh, it's amazing. Dave was right there.
The beer garden.
Instead of the beer garden, the beer garden is about 100 degrees and it's chaos. The exactly. Coliseum, Bosman was the one that puts the medal on you. I get to give that guy a double handshake. Cool. I mean, just super grateful. Castro is out there, so I get to shake his hand on the way out. Don Fowle, the CEO, he's right there. Mm-hmm. That's a class act. They don't have to be there, but the fact that they are there is really an honor, and it makes it special. They shake hundreds of hands. There's a lot of awards to go out, right? Mm-hmm. But they look you square in the eye and give you a moment of their time right there, which is very, very cool. And actually, what was fun this year, I talked to you about this, but as we were moving in on Sunday, setting up our campsite, unpacking the RV, there's a golf cart that pulls up, and it's Dave Castro, who drove across the parking lot, whether it was specifically to say hi to me or this group of people unpacking, but he came up and he asked me, what age division I was in this year, how many years I've won it in a row. And I was like, this I've won it 3. This would be my 4th. I'm really excited to do it. I feel really well trained. He said, well, then it's yours to win or lose. And I was like, thank you. Can I get a picture with you? And I took a picture. Yeah. And then afterwards, to see him again after the awards, right there in the Coliseum, give the guy a hug and have that little before and after experience. He is a sweet, kind human being. He has this persona online, but in person, that guy will give you 100% of his attention when you are when you're with him. And it was really cool. Big highlight.
See, they, we don't have to just throw thorns out here on this. We can talk both sides of the coin. But, we'd be doing a disservice if we didn't bring up the lack of coverage. And we'd also same disservice if we didn't say how special the final event was.
Yeah.
So I agree with that. So 4 in a row.
Yes.
Again, we won't talk specific events yet, but any reflections back? Initial ones. Again, 24 hours old. I know you were busy today, as you said, but you've had to let it process a little bit, I would think, and start to reflect on. Plus the group of guys, I'm sure you had a good time with them. Some familiar faces, some new faces in the age group.
It was the age group. When you spend 3 days warming up, getting corralled with the same group, making the walk 8 times to the event, you create a relationship with every single person there that speaks English. If they don't speak English, you just smile at each other. Yeah. But there are some really special relationships that you form, and those relationships sometimes will even show up out on the field. For example, on the 5K run, I'm running next to Chris Anderson, who is a just magnificent runner, and I'm trying to keep up with him, and I'm trying to keep an eye on where everyone is that I need to pay attention to. And we're coming around a corner, and I'm like, "Hey, Chris, where are we?" He's like, "Dude, we're in a good spot. We're in the front pack." And I look over my shoulder, and we've created this separation, and it's fun to have that camaraderie in a race like that, or in an event 7 that had some biking and skiing and all of that. And
I was going to ask you, were you guys talking?
We
to
were
each
talking.
Other?
Yeah. So I got to the last second to last element was the Concept 2 bike
live stream.
On the live stream, and I was on the bike. I leaned over to sort of like rest my elbows on the handlebar, and Vlad, who was second place behind me, was right there next to me. He's like, "Oh, Jason, you're hiding your monitor," and because we're looking at each other's monitors.
He was doing a lot of peeking.
Oh, me too.
That much. It was very. Yeah, he was leaning over. he was sitting taller than you, and looking over your shoulder.
We were all over each other, and it wasn't comfortable to sit low like that. I didn't pull my handlebars high enough when I set it up, but so I sat up and I looked over at him, and he is at 1,500 calories. So that's his pace. And I sort of roll my eyes. I'm like, come on. And he's all, let's go, Jason. And we're smiling and just grinding ourselves. I was in a desperate mood to not give up 10 points to him, but to gain 10 points, which is like a 20-point swing. Either I gain 10 on him or I lose 10, which is a 20-point. So after the event, that's where we were smiling because we were battling and chit-chatting a little bit. And we were just toe to toe. And I got him by 2 seconds, if that, on the whole event.
Well, Were you pedaling the same? Or because you got to the bike first?
I did.
Right. So you had a tiny little lead,
Correct.
and you got off the bike before him, and those 5, 6, 7 double unders?
Yes, actually 12.
Lead was all you needed.
I got 12.
12. Oh, was it 12? Okay, got it.
And I just
before he picked it up.
I needed to make sure I didn't trip. If I trip, I lose the event.
Yes.
And my 70, my double under 70 to 75. Yeah, he is. And I was just dying trying to hang on. And
your height increased from 70 to 75. Yeah,
I was dying.
I know. I was like, oh my God, he's jumping through the what is he? Yeah, that's the I can't afford to trip jump.
That is it.
Face.
Yep.
Movement.
Panic
mode.
Full
We've
panic.
all done that.
And as soon as my judge lets his hand down, the rush of adrenaline and excitement jump. And then what was really funny is we jumped up on the platform there. And after all of the work we've done and damage we've done to our legs this weekend, what appeared in my mind was that I leapt up on there like a champion and just, felt great. What it looked like in pictures was I barely leapt high enough to make it onto the stage or onto the finish mat. I almost face planted. I mean, I was barely high enough, but boy, it was fun. There was those relationships that you create out there are truly memorable. And there's moments like that, like talking with Vlad while I'm dying. He and I were talking about that today, that will be a lifelong memory just to have there. And the feeling that I have is I woke up this morning just thinking like, I can't believe I did it. I really did. I really did it. So much work, so much effort, so much training, a lot of nerves because, yes, this doesn't matter to 99.9 to the end of the decimal point of the rest of the world. But to me, I really wanted to win one more. And I want to win more. Of course I want to do more, but to get this one and do all that work, I wake up and I'm like, I did it. I got 4. I can't believe it. It actually all worked out just as planned. I was very well prepared, which we'll talk about in a future episode about some of the things I did to specifically prepare mentally for this one because I knew it would be super challenging. The other thing that I feel, and this is honest truth, is just a sense of relief. It's almost. I can imagine. I did it. The
difference between yourself and many other athletes is they're not out there in the public as much, and that's what you've chosen to do, and a lot of people respect the story, and are in they want to be along for your journey. You can tell that from some of the comments, and I'm sure you have many conversations like that with people.
Yes,
privately in a way, but the thing is you put yourself out there. Somebody who qualifies in the 55 to 59s, I don't know, someplace, and doesn't have much of a social media following, and that doesn't matter to them. It's okay. This is the pinnacle of their sport. They go out, they have a great week of competition. They finish, I don't know, 6th or something like that, and they just great week, great experience. Go back and what's next? But that's the thing is you built those expectations up, and now you passed the test again. So,
it is an expectation.
Pretty good.
I build it in myself. I share that expectation because I've chosen to be open and public about that. And
not everybody shares it. That's a difference.
And there's nothing at all good or bad about either one. This is a choice to share it.
Exactly.
And with that comes the anxiety that goes along with my own internal, honestly, my own internal fear of failure is a big driver. I'm going to tell you, when I was selling my soul on the bike next to Vlad and we're chit-chatting, I'm selling my soul, for lack of a better expression, so that if I get these 10 points, I'm up by 70 points on him and I can have a less anxious afternoon. I mean, as silly as that sounds, I had a great afternoon. I like 70-point spread. I can go out and really have fun on this last event, and that was exciting. It's not a nail biter.
Not to rehash all the finishes, but not to rehash the games finishes. But you were in a very different position 2 competitions ago at Legends, where we knew what was on the line with you and Jason, and you had to win that back to back, or you didn't win the event. Or, I mean, you didn't win the competition. Versus last year at the games, you had a sizable lead going into the final event, and here this was comfortable, I would say. So it's amazing. Could you have pictured yourself going in with the 100 or 110 point lead that some of the winners and some of the age groups did? Forget a few here or there, but there were some people, minimum work requirement.
Yes.
Just get across the finish line. Doesn't matter.
Just keep moving during the time frame.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
yeah, there was a teenager. I think he had a 180-point lead. Kevin Coaster had a huge lead as well.
100. Sam Dancer had a big lead. Yeah, I think one of the Masters ladies in the upper age groups did too. Yeah,
I had locked up first place last year before the final event, and it made I had some lingering pain heading into the final event last year, so it was really relieving to know that I didn't have to go touch and go on those sandbag cleans. I'd done something to my back on some really very light squat cleans earlier in that week. So this year, 70 points is almost a lock. I mean, I really have to. There's this sense that, like, if I do something just absolutely dangerous, like if I lose an arm, something snaps during bar muscle ups. I mean, I really could. I could lose that, but it's very unlikely. And these are movements that I want to have some fun with. Yeah. So generally, I went out there and I knew it was time to execute something big. And without talking too much about that workout, we all threw our game plan out the window on the first muscle up. The game plan was gone, and we'll talk about that later. But it ended up being a very, very, very fun event, and it was also fun to know that there were a couple of guys, and the third place spot was up for grabs. So Kern and Anderson, there was a battle there, and there needed to be a couple of guys between them in order for Kern to get up on that podium. And so it was very exciting actually to see those guys battling it out and see where it lands, because you and I, as huge fans of the sport, know that if someone gets in there and then a second person gets in between, these points shuffle big time. Yeah, it would be fun.
And with only 10 competitors, that's the thing.
Correct.
I mean, it's so different watching the age groups this week. Then I turned my attention to individuals where still prior to the cuts, we'll call it, maybe there's 38 or 39 left of people, of the men, maybe 39. I mean, it's a 3-point drop the first, I don't know how many places, and then a larger drop from there. I mean, you get a 15th place finish, and it doesn't, if you're in the top 5, it really hasn't, this many events along, it's not shuffling it that much.
Right.
And I mean, they're fighting and scraping for every point. We know that.
Yep.
But they're fighting for fewer points in between than we are.
Yes.
With 10-point drops. And again, that's the disadvantage of having just 10 to a division.
Correct.
But we've covered that.
We have covered that, and
we've kicked that.
There was
kicked that horse.
There was a conversation that was had that again reinforced that idea that we were talking, and this is shifting back to getting Masters coverage or anything like that. But there could be incentives in the future if it was, for example, 35 to 39 had 20 spots because they had 40,000 entrants in the Open, or a certain percentage of,
absolutely,
and then 40 to 44 and 45, we would become ambassadors for getting people to sign up for the Open. You know what I mean? Like, as an individual, get out there, 44, 45-year-olds, let's beat all the other divisions. Let's get 25 spots because of the amount of signups we get in the Open, and we flood CrossFit with cash because of all of the Open signups in order to have as many spots at the games. Because that's really a fun experience.
It's a good idea. Yeah,
absolutely.
But we talked about it way back when, what the odds were. And I think we said that the odds of making it to the games in the 35 to 39-year-old male division were smaller than the Open individual division.
Right.
Which is hard to believe.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
But there's 40 spots there. There's a difference versus 10. Yeah.
Yep.
So we've got certainly a lot more to cover. I can't wait till we get into it with the events too.
Me too. It's going to be really.
We'll go through that. So what are the rest of the weekend plans for you?
So the weekend plans, a couple of things. One, it will be being a fan. I mean, just walking around, being a fan, enjoying the events, enjoying the camaraderie of all of the fans that are out here and just CrossFitters. So it's a really great thing to meet everybody that I somehow converse with online that comes up and I put a face with a name. So all of that is really great. There are a lot of events left in the next 2 days to watch. Or miss and catch up at night on rewatch. And on Sunday, as age group athletes, we do get to participate in the closing ceremonies. If you remember last year, we go back and we get to go talk, which is super. Not go back. We get to go back into the arena to watch their award ceremonies. A lot of fun. So we'll do that. And the other thing I did want to mention to those Masters athletes that competed at the games that are not here anymore. Maybe they left last night. Maybe they had to leave early this morning. So with the Boulder Athlete bonus program, where we're paying $50 per event win, Brian Wilson had the greatest idea. He came up to me and said, "Hey, Jason, we don't need the $50. It's great. We love it. We love the idea, but we don't need it. What I'd like to do is have my event wins donated." And so I talked to Sam Dancer, who has a foundation where he works with kids with disabilities and other types of things. And I asked Sam if it would be okay if we took those winning funds that people wanted to donate and we donated to his foundation. He was super gracious. Absolutely. He got off the Echo bike that he was riding to warm up and gave me a hug. I was like, dude, hey, you're the one doing the work. We just want to, as masters athletes,
great idea.
We want to give back. So if you're a masters athlete, competed at the games, and I owe you $50, but the way the schedule worked out, I couldn't give you $50, shoot me an email, jason@boulderathlete.com, and let me know your event wins, which events they were, and your name, and I will donate your winnings, $50 per event win, to the Sam Dancer or to the Dancer Foundation. Be sure to do that if you're listening, jason@boulderathlete.com, and we'll make sure that your hard work goes to something that's really cool. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. That they'll be, and the good that can do down the road is, much better than saying, oh, here's another 50 or $100.
Well, and
yeah, exactly.
You know what Sam said,
and that's not to diminish what Boulder Athlete was doing.
No, not at all. It's even better.
No.
Just didn't even. I didn't think about it.
It's funneling to a charity.
It's even better.
Really
we're trying to be smart, and as soon as someone mentioned that, like, hey, I can't come, will you donate it to a charity? Just pick something. I was like, well, yeah. What am I going to pick? And I was like, oh, Sam Dancer is a masters athlete. And if you don't know Sam Dancer's story about that, just Google Sam Dancer Foundation. You can read all about what he's involved in. He may look like a gladiator out on the field, and he is. He's a gladiator. His legs are the size of trees. He is a massive human being, and may even come across, maybe look untouchable as a human being, but he is the kindest, most gentle human being. And what he's involved in, how he gives back to his community, is above and beyond anything you'd ever imagine. So he said every penny that they get goes straight to their foundation, straight to helping kids. So if you're a listener and you just want to donate to his foundation, there's a donate button on the website. In fact, we'll include that in the link as well.
In the show notes.
Yeah.
So perfect. I was going to say.
Y'all could just take an opportunity anyway. It's amazing.
Perfect.
Well, Rick, great to catch up with you. I can't wait to talk for weeks on this. It's going to be super fun.
Yes, I have a lot of questions about some of these tests. I have my thoughts to share, and we'll have some fun.
I can't wait.
Because watching execution across the age groups with the different tests will be something that if people still want to keep listening to these episodes, we're going to get down in the weeds of on the programming too. Because the last thing I'll say is, hey, you didn't no age groups got in the water this year,
right? Which
I'm sure shocked everybody. But that also changes your mindset once you knew you weren't swimming as to the totality of the tests and what they included. So we'll get into all that.
It was it was a very good test, really, really well balanced, and we'll dig into that. So Rick,
you got it.
Thank you. We will talk to you for next week's episode of the Masters in Motion podcast.
Absolutely.
For the rest of you, thanks for tuning in. If you found this episode to be helpful, we would, like always, be so grateful if you take just a second to leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or your preferred podcast app. Your support helps us reach more listeners, more Masters athletes, and grow this community. Until next time, get bolder, not older. See ya.